Hey everyone, I just wanted to go over a quick tutorial on how to create the 2 sketches for your lecture work activity for this week. So if we take a look at our first sketch that we need, it looks like this. So we kind of just have basically 2 rectangles, this L shape. We're given our dimensions. We can see that we have vertical and horizontal relationships all the way around, and we're connected to that origin. So let's get started with the first image. You'll also notice that the problem walks you through kind of this setup. So once you have SOLIDWORKS open, we're going to come up here to the top where this paper icon is. You can select the whole icon or the drop down arrow. We're going to make sure that we are creating a new part file. So hit OK when you have part selected. We know that our units need to be in inches, so before I even start my sketch, I am going to check down at this bottom right corner for my status bar. Make sure that yes, I am in inches, that's IPS. The biggest ones we'll work with in this class is IPS or the MMGS, because we'll be doing our Lego parts in millimeters, but for a lot of the homework and stuff, we just keep it in inches. So make sure IPS is selected and it shows up on your status bar. Next, if I'm reading the instructions, it says we need to sketch on the front plane. So I'm going to come over to my Feature Tree Manager, select my front plane. As I click on it, it lights up, but you're going to see that it is at an angle. Remember, before you start any sketches, that you need to select this normal to icon. So if you just select that plane, those icons will pop up. We have a sketch, hide or show features, that zoom to selection, and then our normal to. This normal to is just bringing that plane so we are looking at it perpendicularly so we can actually sketch straight on it. Another way to find that icon is if you come up to your view orientation. Now yours should be listed up here at the top. I do have my screen a little customized, but if you hit that drop down arrow for your view orientation, you're going to see right now we have the front plane selected. You can also see there is the normal to icon. So with that front plane selected, I'm going to open a new sketch. So I'm going to go up to my sketch tab. I'm going to select sketch. And this now opens a new sketch. You can see sketch 1 is kind of populated and is waiting to be created. Since these look like rectangles but we don't have any of the inside features, I'm just going to create this simple sketch with a line segment. Now if you notice with the drop down arrow, you can choose a solid line, a center line, or a midpoint line. Center lines are made for references. Your midpoints, if you recall from the last lecture, are always implied on any line segment you create. When we are creating sketches, we must use the solid line to actually create the sketch. This is also known as an object line. The last instruction for this assignment says the origin needs to be at the bottom left corner. So I always find it easiest that I attach to the origin at the very beginning. So I'm going to click my line segment down and move it over. Remember, we want to just kind of sketch the outline of this sketch. You'll notice, since I have the line segment, I'm just clicking where these endpoints are, and I can keep sketching the entire part. Another thing you'll notice is as I move my cursor back and forth on this horizontal line, you can see in yellow that relationship that SOLIDWORKS wants to automatically add in. And if I come to the center, you'll see that guideline for, yes, I am at the center of this point. Now from the sketch, I can see that I'm a little off to the left instead of at the straight center. So I'm just going to click my mouse down for that endpoint, bring up my vertical line. And this top one, I'm going to stop at where that guide point comes back down to the origin. So remember, all of your endpoints need to be connected. Once you have just that rough outline, go ahead and hit that green check mark. You'll hit it twice, or you can also hit your escape key to get out of that line feature. So since we have this coincident relationship because we are attached to our origin, and we already have all of the relationships we need for each line segment because they were automatically added in, we can now create our dimensions. Also remember, if say I deleted this relationship, like I didn't want it there or somehow it got missed, that you can just click on that line segment and add in that relationship over on the side. So we do want it vertical, and then hit OK. Another way is to go to that sketch tab and up and over to your display/delete relations and hit that drop down arrow. This is going to let you add in a relationship, and then you would select that line segment. You only need one relationship though, so we don't want to put too many constraints on this. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to dimension the part. So if I double click the roller on my mouse, it kind of brings my whole part center and up front. I'm going to push my mouse roller forward once just so it does make it zoom out a tiny bit. Now I'm going to come up to the Smart Dimension tool on that Sketch tab. When you are doing your dimensions, start on one side, work your way around just like we do with the line segments. Also, just select the line segment. Do not select the midpoint if you can avoid it. This will just cause a lot of errors in the future. So I'm just going to click anywhere on that line segment, bring my dimension down. This dimension is 2. Remember, since we already checked our part document and we are in inches, we do not have to specify the units in our dimension box because it's already applied that it is inches. Next, I'm going to do this line segment. So I'm just going to click on the line segment, bring my dimension over, and this is 0.75. Then I'm going to hit OK. Now, I don't care if you leave your dimensions like this. However, if you want to change it while it's still highlighted, you can come over into the Feature Tree Manager, into this Dimension Manager, and hit the Leaders tab. If you scroll to the bottom, you'll see it says Custom Text Position. Place a check mark in this box next to it, and then we can change the position of the text. So clicking the middle one, now my dimension has been flipped so it's easier to see, and it's in between my leader lines. We will get on dimensions and their layouts later in the semester, but this is just if you are curious and you want to change those. Now if you look at the lecture work activity, we see this line does not have a dimension and either does this line. So I'm going to move up to this top line, click down, place my dimension. This one as well is 0.75. Hit that green check mark or enter. And then just for fun, I'm going to select my Leaders tab, come down to that Custom Text Position, and select the middle icon. Since I'm already looking at this straight on, it did not bring it in the middle of those leader lines. So I'm going to select that third icon, and you can see it now snap that in between those leader lines. That's the standard we will use, but like I said before, you're not docked this. So you'll notice I just clicked out a Smart Dimension. Remember, we want all of our lines to be black to be fully defined. We still have one blue line. It's always good practice that if it's not fully defined, try to move it so we know it only moves up and down. Also from the image, we're missing a dimension on this vertical height. That's giving us that whole placement for that side edge. So I'm going to select my Smart Dimension tool again, select this vertical edge, bring my dimension out, click it down, and this is going to be 2. Hit that green check mark. I'm going to go to those leaders and just select Custom Position and change it so it is in between my leader lines. I'm going to change the position of this bottom 2 as well, just so everything is consistent. So that is key. Just make everything consistent. You can rotate your dimensions like I have done, or you can leave them how they come up as long as it's dimensioned and you're seeing them. Now we can see that this sketch has been fully defined. It is all black. If we look at our status toolbar, we can read that it says fully defined. So we are done with this one. So now you would go to File, Save As. You would name this your lecture work assignment, and it automatically will be saved as a SolidWorks part. Hit Save, upload this file onto Canvas. So that is the first one. So now let's take a look at our second image. This is your second lecture work activity. So I'm going to start back at this origin, work my way around. Now I'm going to make sure that these angles are kind of off, and we will put in those dimensions as we go. So let's get started here. So once again, I'm going to come up to the new icon, select my part, and hit OK. It's going to open that new part window. Double check that we're still in inches on that status toolbar, and we are. And this one we'll also be sketching on the front plane. So I'm going to select that front plane, the normal to icon, so I bring it flat to my view. I'm going to open a new sketch, and I'm going to select my line tool. I'm going to start by placing my first endpoint on that origin and kind of just drawing my line straight. And we have an angle this way, we kind of have this one going up. You can see in the assignment that we do want a perpendicular relationship for these two angles. So if I hit this guide mark, it's going to automatically put it in. I'm going to stay off of it just so we can kind of practice adding in angles ourselves. We have another angle over here. I will line it up with that vertical guide line and then straight back to the origin. So once I have a closed sketch, I go ahead and exit out of that sketch tool. We can see we have our coincident relationship, this vertical relationship, and horizontal put in. So I know I need that perpendicular over here. So I can do that by going to your sketch tab, the display delete relations, and hitting that drop down arrow and selecting add relation. Or what I prefer is I just click on the line segment, hold my control key down, click on the other line segment, because I want that relationship to be between the two. And then, as my selected entities populate, I can now choose that relationship. So I'm going to select perpendicular. It pops up here. You can also see the icon located at that corner. I'm going to hit that green check mark. So now we have all of our constraints in place. So now I'm going to start with the dimensions. So back on your sketch tab, go up to your smart dimension tool. And I like to always just work my way around like in a circle. So I'm going to start with this bottom straight line first. So select that edge, bring your dimension tool down, and select it to be 4. And then hit OK. With this one, I'm not going to change the placement of the leader lines or the dimension. Now, I need to dimension this slanted edge. Please notice that when you are dealing with a slanted edge, you need to bring your dimension straight out so that it remains parallel with that line you're selected. Because you can see here, if I just have the dimension how it is right now, it's showing me that this line segment's true length, since I am parallel with the line, is 2.09. Now if I were to bring it down straight, you can now see that dimension has changed substantially to 1.48. So all of your dimensions all of the time need to remain parallel with the line you are calling out. So I'm going to place that one down. This one is 1.5. I'm going to hit OK. Now I don't have any dimensions here. I don't have any dimensions here. And my last outside dimension is going to be this vertical line. So I'm going to select that line segment, bring it parallel out, and this one is going to be 2.25. And hit OK. So my part is still underdefined, and I know that there are two angles, one here and one on the top, for this dimension. So far, we've only dimensioned single lines, so it's one line segment you're selecting to dimension. When you are creating an angle, we will select the two line segments that the angle is in between. You do not have to hit the Control key when you're doing the dimensions to select two line segments at the same time. So I'll select that line segment. I'll come right over to this one, select that line segment, and I'm automatically brought out with the degrees. Place it in the middle. It is 135 degrees, so I'm just going to hit OK. You can now see that made all of these lines turn black. So we just have this top edge. So I need another angle between these two edges. So I'm going to select this top line segment, immediately come over and select the vertical line segment. And this is an interior angle, so I'll just kind of place my dimension around the area that we see in the picture, and this angle is 120 degrees. So SOLIDWORKS automatically knows it's an angle. I don't have to select degrees. I'm just going to hit 120 and OK. And it automatically populates as that degree. Since I am now done, I'm going to hit OK. You can see the part has now been fully defined. It is all black. We have all our relationships and dimensions that are in the picture. We did not over-dimension. It states it's fully defined on the status bar. Now you can just go to File, Save As, submit this second lecture work activity. One other thing, if for some reason you click that blue arrow, you get out of your sketch, maybe you exit sketch over here, and you're just left with these gray lines, well, you can't smart dimension just the gray lines. It wants you to reference an actual sketch. Over here on your Feature Tree Manager, our sketch 1 is listed here. So if I just click on it, I can come up to this top icon that says Edit Sketch, select it, and now I can go in and make those changes. Another thing is, say you accidentally put this sketch on the top plane instead of the front plane. You do not have to change the plane or recreate your entire sketch. You just need to select your sketch. The second icon over is Edit Sketch Plane. Here, you can use this arrow at the top, which is a flyout arrow, and it shows you what was on your Feature Tree Manager, and you could change your planes. So we could change it to the top plane. I'm going to leave it on the front plane since that's where we want this sketch. But then you'd hit OK. Your entire sketch would still be there. It would just be on a different plane. So you can leave your sketches open so I see your dimensions, or you can close them and they're grayed out. Submit your SOLIDWORKS files, and that is it for the lecture activity. Be sure to check out the tutorial videos for a couple of your homework problems.